Welcome back to O'Neill's Grill for the weekly Fan and Press Luncheon. Here with head coach Kenny Brooks of the JMU women's basketball team. Coach, it was a bit of a high and low week for the Dukes, starting off with a home win against Morgan State, 92-31, before we headed on the road for UCLA, where the Dukes fell 90-61. Overall, how'd you feel about the week?
It was a high and low week. It was. I saw some good things from a lot of different kids. We saw some things we need to work on towards the end of the week, but none to say we have to get better, and we knew that even after we played Longwood and Morgan State. Then we ran into a very good basketball team with UCLA, which was evident by the fact that they lost to South Carolina by 3 points yesterday, which is the number 2 ranked team in the country. So, but I think what happened is our kids learned a lot. They learned a lot through the week. They understood that we've got to continue to get better each and every game, and we have a lot of film to watch on the UCLA game, and so we came back to practice yesterday. They were very spirited. They understood that they have a lot of work to do, and when you're playing 3 freshmen a lot of minutes, it's one thing to tell them what's going to happen, but when they actually experience it is when they really start to understand how they have to adapt. And I think that's where we are right now. The last 2 days, I think we've been flooded with questions from Kayla Cooper-Williams and Savannah Felgemacher and Logan Reynolds, and I've actually seen their demeanor change a little bit to understand that. We referenced going out to UCLA as we were going to play big girl basketball, and now they know what big girl basketball is, and I think that's going to bode well for us as we move on. I think the problem is that we don't have a whole lot of time to fix it in practice, because we got to come back out, and tonight we have to play big girl basketball once again, because UCLA Liberty will probably be the biggest team that we play all year long.
You talk about the quick turnaround. You do play Liberty tonight at 7 o'clock at the Convocation Center. Then you have a couple days off for Thanksgiving, not taking a Thanksgiving tournament this year for the first time in a while, and then come back Sunday versus Hampton on the road. You get to play in-state rivals, in-state contests, and you talk a lot about kind of growing the game, especially regionally, trying to play those in-state teams. What was the mentality in kind of picking these games to kind of bookend the Thanksgiving break?
Well, a lot of it is just opportunity, and people don't understand. It is really hard to make a schedule, all right, because not only do you have to try to make the schedule which is going to be favorable to you, you have to find other people when they have time as well. We go back and forth continuously, and some of it's cat and mouse. You'll want to play on this date, and maybe they can play on that date, but they don't want to give it to you right away, and they say, no, we have to hold off for a different date. And we go back and forth with that so much. So sometimes when you're actually going through the schedule, like for instance, I wish we had played the Liberty game tomorrow. So we had another day to recuperate. And I even looked at Coach O'Regan, who does the scheduling, and I'm saying, why didn't we play this game tomorrow? And and there were a million reasons why we couldn't. Liberty didn't want to. Liberty, whatever the situation was. But it's very hard to put together a schedule. And when it comes out, it's never going to be ideal. But this year we knew we were going to do more of a Christmas tournament, which is the one we went to in Orlando. And sometimes the Caribbean tournaments, as wonderful as they are, went to Puerto Rico last year. They're taxing. They're taxing on your kids' mental state, because you go from one extreme, cold to the really beautiful warm, and you have to come back to the cold. But you're traveling a lot, and so it is taxing. So we wanted to take a break from that, and so our tournament this year is going to be in Orlando. But it's never going to be ideal, and you just have to make do with what you have in front of you, and that's what we're doing tonight. Because I would love a little bit longer time to prep for a very good Liberty basketball team. I think our kids are okay. We haven't talked about any fatigue. I don't know if I'm tired or not. I don't know if today is Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So. I don't know how they're going to respond to that, but hopefully they'll understand that this is an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to wipe a bad taste out of our mouth from Friday's game, and hopefully they'll come out and they'll have a good showing.
Well, now I open it up to questions from the media. Gentlemen?
Coach, what is it about Liberty that makes tonight's matchup the toughest yet so far this season?
They are tall. As I mentioned before, they're the tallest team we're going to play all year long, and it's not only, that they have the luxury. They start a 6'5" powered forward, and their center is 6'6", and then their first sub off the bench is a 6'5" post player, and they really plant themselves on the low block, and they pride themselves on getting a shot, but also getting a second opportunity and third opportunity and fourth opportunity if they need be. But they're very, very, very big. They're very physical. It's going to be a contrasting style. They're going to want to walk the ball up the court and have the game in the 50s or 60s. We would much prefer getting out and getting up and down and having the game in the 70s or 80s. And so I think the team that really is going to enforce their will of style of play is going to be the team that's going to be the most successful.
There was so much unknown going into this season, especially wondering how this team would play without Precious. How was Friday's game against UCLA kind of a wake-up call for you guys, and how much more are you asking from your players now that you know what that was like?
Well, I mean, a lot of it. If anyone followed the game, we got out of sorts very early because Jasmine Gwathmey got in foul trouble, and when she got into foul trouble, it forced us to do things that we haven't done all year, that we're not comfortable doing, and that I'm not sure if we're going to be successful doing all year long. We need her presence on the floor, whether it's from scoring, but she does so much more for us than just score. She rebounds the basketball. She's a connector. She helps us run our plays defensively. She kind of anchors our defense with her communication. And with her not on the floor, we had to rely on not only inexperienced players, but we also had to rely on kids to do things they weren't comfortable doing. Probably our best performance came from Muff Mickens, and it was her driving in the end and shooting the ball, which, she's more comfortable being a facilitator, and she wasn't able to do that because it seemed like every time she passed somebody the ball, they passed it right back to her because kids just weren't used to scoring other than Ashley Perez, who got 26 shots off in 24 minutes, and that's something that she's not comfortable doing. So that was the whole thing that threw us off balance, other than the fact that UCLA is a very good basketball team. But, in order for us to be successful, we're going to need Jasmine Gwathmey on the floor, even if she's not scoring, but we need her on the floor.
Is it comforting to know that, this is what the team is like without Jasmine? Like, this is what Jasmine brings to the team. Is it comforting when you get those moments like, okay, I remember why you're this important on the team?
Not at all. There's no comfort level in that whatsoever. I was a wreck. I'll tell you the best thing that happened to us out there, though, was our Southern Cal Duke Club alumni. They were fantastic. They cheered from start to end, and I thanked them for that because it wasn't a whole lot to cheer for in the middle or towards the end. But no, we need Jazz on the floor, and I think if anything, it showed us that her importance and that we're not as good. We really aren't, especially right now. When I'm asking Logan Reynolds to be something that she's never been. She's always been a facilitator, scored when she had to, and we're asking her to be on the wing a lot and being the recipient of Muff's passes and looking to score. When Muff throws her the ball and she catches it, she wants to do exactly the same thing that Muff did to her. She wants to set someone up as well. But that's why we need Jazz out on the floor and so on and so forth. We didn't get a whole lot of production from our post play. And not a lot of it was because of their post play, but we just weren't ready. We had some inexperienced kids inside who didn't understand that. And when you play big girl basketball, you got to be physical and you got to be a presence inside.
You referenced the freshmen you're playing, but maybe even some of the other players too. Making a cross country trip, getting on the plane, going to LAX, the whole trip itself. Any moments stand out to you watching your kids being college kids, not basketball players, but stand out from that trip where they see something for the first time or just a memory or two that you can share from that trip?
A good memory or a bad memory?
I don't know about a good. Well, that's up to you. We'll let you decide.
Well, we're all friends and family here. I won't go deep into it, but there were some things that led up to the game that they just had to learn. Whether it was being not only on time for film, but you got to be early for film. If you're going to wear certain things going through the airport, you need to be looking like 15 identical, whatever that number is for twins. They need to look alike. All that stuff is things that relates to basketball. And I just thought we weren't on the same page in a lot of different categories. They understand now, so they understand now, and I think that's the start of us becoming a really good basketball team. And it's not just what you do on the court. Everything that you do off the court relates to what you do on the court, and I think that was the biggest lesson learned as we took this trip.
You played UCLA several times. Talk about the relationship between the two schools, how you have this matchup, playing them last year here, playing there this year. Talk about how that came about.
Well, it came by, we were looking for a big-time opponent, and it's very hard for us to get that opponent to come to the Convocation Center. So what we do is we sort of kind of chase teams in these neutral tournaments. 3 years ago, I think it was, we were going down to Naples, Florida, to play in this tournament, which has really blossomed, and there's a lot of talent in that tournament. And we asked who was going to be in it, and they said UCLA, and we asked to play UCLA. And we played them. We had a very good team that year. We beat them. And then the next year, they were playing University of North Carolina, and they wanted to get another game on the East Coast. I have no idea what they thought they were getting into when they came to our place, but they agreed to a home and home. And we played them last year to start the season, to start the home and home. It was a great game, one of the more entertaining games that I've been associated with. And then we had to return the game this year. And from that, Corey Close, their head coach, she talked about it. She respects our program immensely. She talked to me and she said, we're one of the best programs in the country. And I knew right then and there we weren't going to sneak up on them. And they were ready for us. They really were. Nira Fields is an All-American, and she's never beaten us. So she was not going to, take us lightly. And she had a tremendous game. Jordan Canada, who I think will be an All-American before it's all said and done, her very first game was against us at the Convocation Center. So she knows who we are, and they played like it. They weren't sleepwalking. They really came after us right from the get-go and established themselves very early, and I think that was a reason for our demise. But, those are the type of basketball games we need to play. It gives us national recognition. We didn't have a great showing, but everyone knows that we went 2-1 against UCLA.
And Devin asked you about your regional non-conference games. Is it becoming more difficult to find teams to play you with the success you're having, and are you having to actually maybe expand your regional look a little bit?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Even the teams in the state that won't play us, we even had one team on Twitter made a comment that they own the state because they beat Virginia and Virginia Tech, and I think they beat Richmond. But that team won't play us, and they haven't played us. And so I even had my staff do a stat, and out of all the teams in Virginia, we have a winning streak against every one of them. And I think when they compiled it up, I think it was we won 55 in a row, 55-0 against winning streaks against teams in the state. And so I don't know how that other team says they own the state, but my calculations, it seems like we're doing pretty good in the state. But we would love to get those rivalries going, to play the ODUs and the VCUs and the George Masons, and those are the teams that our fan base they identify with, because of the old rivalries. And when we used to play Old Dominion, that place would rock. We would get 4,000 people, 5,000 people either way. Whether we went to their place or our place, it was a tremendous rivalry. If Virginia comes over here, we'll get 4,000 or 5,000 people. Virginia Tech comes up here, we'll get the same deal. It's just that we have to go outside of our comfort zone, out of our fans' comfort zone, to play some of these teams, which are good, which are very good. And that's why I give kudos to Kerry Green from Liberty and Michael Schaefer from Richmond and David Six from Hampton. To try to keep these rivalries going, in-state games.
All right, that'll wrap us up here at O'Neill's Grill. Thank you, Coach.
You did a very good job, Devin.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. The Dukes
I thought I was going to try to stump you a little bit, but you handled yourself very well.
Thanks, Coach.